back. Most of the businesses swept up in last year's unrest across KwaZulu-Natal and parts of Gauteng are still struggling to recover from the looting. On the first anniversary of the unrest, KZN Premier Zikalala has led the so-called Operation Siyahlola to assess the progress in rebuilding. Our reporter Manqoba Mchunu was there and joins me for an update. Manqoba, so a year on, the province is making some progress, but how much progress has been made so far? I'm sure it's very hard to measure that.
Well, certainly, and it's still quite difficult to measure the progress that has been made so far in the province. But what we've been hearing from the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, who of course visited some of those hotspots, some of the malls that had been destroyed, some of the malls that had been looted, is the fact that there has been some progress. He says that there has been quite a number of malls and shopping centres that have been repaired and in fact are currently operating as we speak. But during that visit, Andy, it became quite clear that the remnants of that violence looting that took place here in KwaZulu-Natal is still pretty much with the province. We saw quite a number of shops that are still unable to get back to their feet. In fact, we're at one of those complexes here in Springfield in KwaZulu-Natal that has still not yet started operating. We do understand that only one shop here has been opened so far, and it tells you just the impact of the devastation that occurred here during the July unrest. Of course, many shops were looted. We saw damages running up to billions of rand. In fact, the Premier quantifying it today, saying that out of the 50 billion rand that was lost to the economy of the country, 30 billion rand is from eThekwini only, and KwaZulu-Natal, I beg your pardon, only. So that tells you just the impact and the amount of destruction that had occurred in this particular province. Of course, we did speak to some of the business owners. They did relay that they're still struggling to, get back on, to their feet. In fact, one of the businessmen that I spoke to said that two of his shops had been vandalized, had been looted, and he lost to the tune of 8 million rand. So he says it's been quite difficult to try and rebuild his business. They've been relying on insurance. They've been relying on government to intervene in terms of finances to try and regain their businesses. But it's not been an easy route. But the Premier, of course, quite upbeat that the province is making a recovery. He says that, in fact, the GDP of the province had risen by 1.9%. So he says that he's quite hopeful that we are on a path of recovery in KwaZulu-Natal. But take a listen to what Premier Zikalala had to say.
The following key trends are indicative of an economy that is rising from the ashes. Firstly, our GDP grew by 1.9 in the first quarter of 2022, although output is still low than the pre-COVID level. Our unemployment rate marginally declined in the first quarter of 2022 from 35% to 34.5%. Major investments have come through to our shores, indicating the confidence that investors still hold in the economy. With the lifting of the COVID-19 restrictions, the economy is set for increased economic activity, particularly within the tourism sector, which was boosted massively by the Hollywood Durban July a week ago.
Manqoba, such varying levels of devastation and to various parts of the economy, some formal businesses, informal businesses, those who are insured, those who are not insured. Tell us a little bit about those who have not been insured, who've perhaps not been able to bounce back as easily as others.
Indeed, we do understand, Andy, that there were several businesses that were uninsured, and many of those businesses have really been struggling to bounce back. We spoke to one businessman who told us that he has even opted not to continue with his business due to the fact that he simply cannot recover. He simply cannot, try and rebuild his business. And also, we do understand that's not the only issue, Andy. There are also those that are underinsured and who, when they try to claim from the insurance, they were actually not able to get the full amount of the damage that they had incurred. So those were businesses that were really hard hit. We do understand that the province had made claims to the tune of 36 billion rand to the insurance company Sasria, and of course from those claims we do understand that they've only been paid about 23 billion rand. There's still an outstanding 8 billion rand of those claims, but many of the businesses are still trying to get back to their feet. Of course, it's not easy, but there are also far-reaching impacts of this unrest that occurred in this particular province. And I want you to take a listen to what the CEO of Trade and Investment here in KwaZulu-Natal had to say about some of those far-reaching impacts.
Two parts. Those that were insured, a lot of them are now getting back to their feet. You would have seen in a number of sites that we visited this morning that there's a lot of construction, and they're giving dates in terms of exactly when they'll be opening. And then you have others that are not open yet, those that are uninsured, or the ones that really through their insurance schemes they were underinsured. And those are the ones that we are assisting in linking with some of the funding agencies to really try and assist them in covering the shortfall that they have actually experienced. In partnership with the IDC, Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal, and the IDC, we were able to also assist companies. The IDC actually set aside 30 million rand, particularly to cover the uninsured and those that are in the township and rural economies. And that is completely dispersed, and we were able to reach over 200 companies as a result of that facility that was set aside by the IDC.
Thanks, Manqoba Mchunu.